Welcome to the Public Trust Network. This is Christian Lloyd Suarez here with Jeremy Fetzer. We're discussing a developing story that is happening out in the Supervisor of Elections out in Osceola County.
Yeah, welcome to the Pushback, the show on.
There you go. On the Public Trust Network, right? The Pushback. So,
Yep.
So this is a little bit of pushback. What's happening out in Osceola County? I think, Jeremy, do you want to set it up? It's Mary Jane Arrington, the Osceola Supervisor of Election, and there's been a violation, right? The violation has been of Florida Statute 101641. Basically, here's the deal. Ms. Arrington has put, essentially, they've put the party affiliation of conservative, I guess, only Republicans on their absentee ballots, right? So absentee ballots are delivered to the voters. So some of them are getting them now.
Yeah,
and,
this is for the special election for Florida State House 35, which the primary is on November 7th.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So only these people are really going to be getting these ballots. The people who are in that district, in District 35. Now
they received them over the weekend.
Okay, great. So on them, the Republicans, it actually has their party affiliation where you can see it on the outside of the ballot, right?
Yes. And that's the violation.
And we did not have this problem with the Democrats. The Democrats, their absentee ballots did not show up with their party affiliation on the outside of the ballot.
No Democrat voter has made the complaint about this violation in Osceola County as of yet.
So the rub comes in the fact that the Supervisor of Election is a Democrat, right?
Yes, and that this isn't the first time that this also happened. Last election in 2022 as well, that it's not a one-time violation.
So, I guess the worst case scenario that people are concerned with why this would be controversial is, if the party affiliation of her opponent is on the outside of the ballot and anybody had a nefarious intent, they could, of course, tell, oh, these are the ones we want to throw out. If it doesn't say Republican on it, then you want to keep them, right?
Yeah, I mean, Mary Jane Arrington, the Supervisor of Election in Osceola County, is a registered Democrat. Actually, this election cycle, which is really crazy, her daughter-in-law will be on the ballot, Kristen Arrington.
Right, we've interviewed her here.
Right. Who is running for state senate, seat 25. Her son is going to be on the ballot, Brandon Arrington, who's running for re-election of Osceola County Commission, District 3.
And they're both Democrats.
Yeah, and Mary Jane Arrington herself is up for re-election, will be on the ballot in this cycle as well.
And you said, because Kristen Arrington been reached for comment? She hasn't said anything?
No, she's not. But
it is relevant. It would of course impact her, of course,
Well, not this election. This election is actually just about the special House election. But again, they're friendly with friendly.
This special House election isn't Arrington in it? Isn't her?
No. This is Erica Booth.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I got it crossed. Right.
Scotty Moore and Ken Davenport, who are running on the Republican primary.
Okay.
But there's been backdrop that Kristen Arrington's consulting firm, Pitbull Strategies, has been assisting Erica Booth's campaign.
All right. Well, I'm not going to run that down yet. I don't know enough about that to ask questions there, and I don't think it's really relevant. If it doesn't impact Kristen's election,
But if Kristen Arrington's client is one that's involved, I mean, it's somewhat, but we're still running down that story.
Okay. So, turning our attention back to this one. A couple things. She did. Let's get her. Her name is Mary Jane Arrington. She's the Supervisor of Election. She's the one responsible for the mistake. Two things. She did make a response video, right?
Yeah. You want to play it?
Yeah. Let's play it for the audience so they can hear her own words.
Okay. So this is Mary Jane Arrington making a statement about the issue to Channel 9 yesterday.
Mary Jane Arrington says county staff worked Monday and Tuesday to send out new envelopes. She says her office uses a vendor, Magnolia Press, based out of Sanford, to print and mail out absentee ballots because the county doesn't have the equipment to do it.
We send them the information in a data file, and they use that information that we send them to then process the ballots. We do not see them before they hit the mailbox.
But Channel 9 confirmed this is not the first time the county has violated the law. It happened last year when thousands more were sent out. Arrington says that time, too, it was the vendor's fault. They claimed they didn't know of the new state law.
How does this happen not once, but twice?
I do not know. they're disappointed that they've made the mistake, but still, you know, the buck stops here.
Okay, yeah. So, two things that catch my attention that she says are incredible. How she can say, you know, that they're disappointed, and she's speaking about Magnolia Press. Magnolia Press is the company that the Supervisor of Elections hires in order to print the ballots.
Yes.
So, what Mary Jane Arrington, the Supervisor of Elections, the Supervisor of Elections, is saying is that they made the mistake, the printers, and that, but that the buck stops here. She also says that they don't look, she acknowledges that they don't look at the ballots before they're mailed to the voters. So how could they know if there was a mistake, right? But
not only once, but this happened twice now.
Twice. So, and her answers to when they brought this up to her, well, you know, this has happened a second time. She says she doesn't know.
I don't know.
She doesn't know, which we don't know. Does that mean she didn't know what happened the first time, or she doesn't know what happened that time either?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and what? So the next question I would want to ask her is, what changes did you make after the last? If she can acknowledge that there was a mistake last time, what changes did you make to make sure this wouldn't happen again? I mean, how could you admit that you don't look at them before they go out? I mean,
well, I mean, but Christian, that question is already answered, right? So by the fact that this happened again, we know that there was no processes put in place to ensure this violation didn't happen a second time.
well, I don't know what the first mistake was. It was the same exact mistake.
Same exact mistake.
And they didn't make a public statement last time about it. There's nothing on the record.
Because no voter brought it up until now.
Okay. So no voter brought it up. So how do we know that it happened last time?
Because even in the Channel 9's news story, they ran it down, they verified it, and questioned Mary Jane Arrington, which she just said she doesn't know how it happened. So she acknowledged that it did happen.
Yeah. You know, I'm just thinking about the mechanics of these things because I'm trying to distinguish this from an honest mistake, right? How do we know it's not just a mistake? It's a mistake. You know, why would it be only one party that would? You know what I'm saying?
But let's go down that rabbit hole, okay? Let's say that it's an honest mistake, right? That it's a violation, right? The first time, right? That's an honest mistake.
Mm-hmm.
You, as a supervisor of election who has a charge duty to the voters, would set in a process to ensure that the violation didn't happen. Because not only that state law was violated, it's also that reprint has to happen of those ballots that were at issue, which then costs taxpayer money, which means you wasted taxpayer funds. It's anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 in cost to reprint.
Which would probably be her answer if we said, why don't you look at the ballots before they go out? She said, you know how expensive it would be to have them shipped there, to have them delivered to us so we can review them. It's like, you know, but you know, you could also go down there and look at them.
That's the honest mistake, right? But that's what we're saying. Like, let's say it's just an honest, an issue happened, the printer, you know, made a mistake, let's move on the first time. Yeah. But now let's say that what she's saying out of her mouth in that video is true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her as a supervisor of election, her staff didn't put in a process and a checks and balance to ensure the violation of state statute, state law was violated, that it didn't happen a second time, which now it did.
Right. And we can
so it's either this, right? Here's my point though.
Yeah.
It's either malfeasance and willful neglect now,
right,
or you're lying.
Right. Because if you don't know, that's malfeasance, and you should know at this point. We're past.
Yeah, because it's the second time violating state statute.
So I guess the next question for her would be, what does it mean when you say the buck stops here? What does that actually mean? What does that look like to you? Because that sounds like consequences should be, like she acknowledges there'll be some consequences for this.
But okay, but the buck stops here. But let's go to what she said now. What she said was, in the same breath, that she blames everything and puts all responsibility on this vendor, Magnolia Press.
Right.
Which again, the buck, you're advocating responsibility, not for one, but twice the violation of state statute.
What does it mean? So where are we at right now? Who's picking up the ball on this? I have a few notes. Mark Cross is the chairman of the Osceola Republican Party.
Yeah. So, well, let's go back. Channel 9's running down the story. Mark Cross of the Republican Party is working with lawyer and former state rep Anthony Sabatini. putting together a complaint for election law violation, not only on this incident, but the last incident. And then they're also, based upon some undisclosed thing, actually trying to put forth a criminal complaint now, which I'll disclose the reason for that. And they're trying to ask the governor to remove her based upon this issue.
Wow. They're reaching out to DeSantis to have him removed.
Have her removed.
They think this is enough cause.
Well, no, the
Yeah,
cause
right,
comes into the fact that her statement. I mean, let's run down what her statement said, right?
Mm.
Who did she blame?
Magnolia Press.
And so I've been doing political operations. I've been a political operative for over 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've done political mailers. And how this works is we do, whether we do the design or the print house does the design, the print house sends back proofs to the client to approve all along the process before it goes to the printer and before it goes to bulk mail.
Right. Not all the boxes. They don't send them all. They're going to send one example. This is what they look like, right? This is good to go.
Yeah. And that has the mailer, has all the disclosures, meets, statute, and you're supposed to approve that as the client.
Part of their 5-step, they have like a 5-step checklist or something, right?
Yeah. So knowing and doing mailers and how the process works and the client has to approve it, last night I was like, this doesn't seem right. So this morning I woke up with a little hair under me and a little fire under me, and I called Magnolia Press in Sanford.
Did you?
Oh yeah, I called.
Oh, you did some reporting.
I ran down the story in the statement. So I actually got on the phone with Michael Hargan, who's the general manager of Magnolia Press, who had a very
Did he feel bad for his mistake?
No, he was actually adamant that their organization did not make the error. They've been doing ballot printing since 1984. They're factory trained. They have 15 county clients in multiple states. And they have this 5-step approval process, which they send the proofs back and forth to the client via secure file because they're ballots and they have to secure them via the statute. And they have the receipts where Mary Jane Arrington's statement that they never saw it before they went to the post office and to be mailed out is just categorically untrue. That they've actually looked at them multiple times throughout this process, and Magnolia Press has the receipts.
Okay.
They did look at them, that they did.
So they're not falling on the sword at all. They're not saying
no, not at all.
No, this is not actually approved. We've been doing this since 1986. We know how to do it.
84.
We have 84. We put our own policies in place so that we don't have to worry about what necessarily the government is doing. We have our own policies to make sure that there's an error or mistake it's caught. Of course, because the reputation is on the line. I mean,
and after speaking with Mr. Hargan, him and his staff were adamant that they're professionals, that they've been doing this for decades, that they take the responsibility of printing ballots and the importance of our elections and freedom and democracy very seriously. And that's why they have this 5-step approval process. And, the idea that a supervisor of elections like, we didn't see it. It doesn't make any sense. Because even these operative
last time, and it was them, by the way.
Both times it was them. And Mr. Hargan said both instances, the 5-step approval process was in place, and that the supervisor of election and her team approved the proofs before the proofs were sent to the printer and before they went out to the mail.
I have a feeling this guy wasn't very hard to run down and get information from, was he?
No, he stayed away from the media yesterday, but after they were thrown under the bus by that statement by the supervisor of election, Mary Jane Arrington, they were more than happy to set the record straight because, again, they have multiple clients. And think about the tarnishment of what she said, being so loose with her words about this company who takes their job in the election process seriously.
You think she would talk to them before throwing them out in the media and telling people that it was their fault? You think she would talk to them and say, how do we have this mistake? How do we, you think she would have answers by talking to him? Right? She could have talked about that instead of just saying them.
But what
I'm saying she could have.
So I'm just going to say it is she categorically lied and knowingly lied.
It's seeming like it.
the receipts are there, and we're tracking them down. That Magnolia Press has the record that they went back and forth with them, that the approval was given to send it to the printer and to mail them out. And the client, being Mary Jane Arrington and the supervisor of election of Osceola County, approved it. And her statement to Channel 9 was categorically false and was defaming Magnolia Press.
Right. And we've reached out to her to ask for some clarity on these discrepancies.
Yeah, with no response.
Yeah.
So, and again, this goes back to the
story.
And
did they fix it now, by the way? Have they fixed the ballots? Are they going to be resent back out?
Yeah, they spent Monday and Tuesday resending out new ballots to the ones who received the illegal ballots, which again,
how much
$10,000.
And who pays for that?
The taxpayers. We do in Osceola County. And this is the issue at hand is, again, if it was a simple mistake the first time, a duly elected constitutional officer like Mary Jane Arrington being the supervisor of election, if you're a manager of processes, would set in checks and balances to make sure that this didn't happen. We know that didn't happen because it happened again. And then the abdication.
Can I steel man her case?
Yeah. That's
what we're about at PTN. I don't even like. It feels weird to pile on somebody, so I'm going to try to steel man her case. But last time it happened, no one brought it up until afterward, so it didn't have an economic impact on us. It didn't hurt us necessarily, so we didn't think we needed to make any changes. So that's why the same mistake happened again.
So what you're saying then is the violation of election law in Florida State Statute 101.64.1.c doesn't matter, and it's okay just to move on.
No, I'm just saying that the last time it didn't cost the taxpayer any money, it didn't hurt. Because it wasn't.
But even though there's no financial impact, then knowing that you, as a duly supervisor of election supervisor and duly elected official, knowing that you violated the law last time, knowing because you knew you violated the law.
But there's no statement. They know they did it.
They know. They know they violated.
They know they made a mistake.
It was in the Channel 9. It was in the Channel 9 story that she admitted it.
Arrington admitted,
yes, that it happened before.
And we're talking about in 2022 election.
Yes,
2022 election. General.
So if she would say that oh, there was no financial cost, it didn't hurt us. Okay, but you're not going to set in a process to stop the violation of election law a second time.
Well, I think I can imagine you're saying we'll certainly try. Now that has our attention. Now we're going to make sure this doesn't happen again.
But it had your attention last time. That's what you said on record, and you don't know how. It's the vendor's fault. That's not good enough.
I am curious how this kind of mistake only happens. Listen, if they all were printed, Republicans and Democrats alike, because that was the printing style. But, specifically to have one party shown and the other party not showing on the outside of their ballot is a weird kind of mistake. It's just, to make twice.
And even more so, knowing that I've worked with print houses, when you send the election data over, you'll send it over in a CSV file with first name in a column, last name, street address, all this information would be in columns, right?
Right.
It's all in one file.
Yeah.
So how did just a segment portion of just Republicans get thrown out, right? That's what I'm saying.
So people want her removed. This is the big thing, right? People want her removed.
She violated the state statute, and based on her false statements now, and knowing that there's receipts and the printer is making statements that they have the proof that they approved all along the way, not only did she violate this election law twice, she's now making false statements, defaming. And again, the Republican Party chairman of Osceola County, Mark Cross, with their attorney, Anthony Sabatini, are making the case for the election law violation, her false statements now.
As much as people beat the drum, politicians beat the drum about small businesses, man, they aired them out here. Why wouldn't you protect the small business? And if the buck stops here, why wouldn't the buck stop here? Why is the buck stop here? But we're also disappointed, and they're disappointed in their mistake. That's frustrating. That's so frustrating. Is she up for re-election soon?
She's up for re-election this cycle in 2024.
That's good to know.
And that's
we can get a fair ballot out,
But Christian, let's go back. Let's go back in history with your own circumstances, right? And what was it, 2020? where we had the voter watch party at Matadors.
She was still the supervisor of elections then?
Yeah, remember the electricity went down, and then there was like, oh, we don't know what happened, and then
Just to
all the
be-
numbers flipped.
Yeah. I interrupted you. I'm sorry, but you're right. We should set it up for the audience. For anybody who doesn't know, we were doing a debate watch party.
No, an election watch
Oh,
party.
sorry, election watch party. It was me, you, Peter Vivaldi was with us.
Wanda
Rentas
Rentas.
was with us, right?
Yeah.
That's right. At one point, we're looking at these races. Give me one race in particular that stands out. I forget. No,
You're looking at the number one race was what is this Florida State House District 34,
the same
35, which was Florida State House District 42. It was County Commissioner back then, Fred Hawkins, versus who was a Republican versus I forget her name right now, a Democrat. The Democrat was actually up because remember at that time Fred Hawkins had just gotten arrested for faking the.
Was it Angela Eady?
No. It was I forget her name.
Okay. Anyway, sorry.
So a Democrat, she was out of Polk
winning.
County.
She was leading.
She was leading because Fred had gotten himself into trouble because remember he got arrested by FDLE for flashing the fake police badge and that whole incident.
I remember that. Right.
So he was actually losing at the time by substantial amount of votes. And then remember, Mary Jane Arrington's a supervisor election. The power goes out for 2 hours.
Isn't Hawkins a Republican now?
Yes.
So, but power goes out for was it 2 hours in the middle of our broadcast?
Yeah.
And then the power comes back on,
and the numbers flip.
Votes flip, and it wasn't just that race. There were like 2 other races that the numbers switched also.
Yeah.
Flipped.
Yeah.
Whoever was leading suddenly was no longer leading when the power came back on.
Exactly.
I mean,
And the consultants and the assistants had assistance from the Arringtons in their consultant company, Pitbull Strategies.
Pitbull Strategies. Lay
Which
it
is
out for you one more time. Say it. Pitbull
Strategies was consulting, is a political consulting firm run by an Arrington here in Osceola County. And their
Pitbull
clients
Strategies
were
run by
behind,
Arrington
and then it flipped.
Pitbulls.
Yeah.
All right. So what should we do? What should we do now? How do we run this down any further? We should pay attention to this one. These guys have our attention.
Well, Mark Cross just sent in an email to us asking.
Mark Cross is
Republican Party chairman, so he wants to talk to you. So we're going to follow down that lead.
Okay.
And then we should send an email also to Kristen Arrington to see what her statement is, and Brandon as well.
Sure.
And let's check with Stephen Wells, the Democrat Party chairman, if we're going to talk to the Republican Party chairman in the county.
How many Arringtons hold office out there in Osceola?
3.
There's 3 in office?
Yeah,
and,
the county
and
commissioner. Yeah, they'll all be on the ballot in 2024.
And then Arrington is in charge.
Mary Jane Arrington, who's the mom. Brandon Arrington, who's the supervisor of election. Brandon Arrington, who's the son, is county commissioner. And then Kristen Arrington is the state representative.
We need that whiteboard. That's where to break this down on the whiteboard next. Okay. I want to see it. Seriously. I want to pay attention. I have seen the hashtag Arrington crime family before, and I chuckled and laughed, but this is kind of wild, actually. Now it really got my attention.
Well, I think it's, but, and I mean, for me, if it would have just been the buck stop here, it's our responsibility, right? It would have been one thing, right? That's taking responsibility for the violations.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that they made a statement saying that it was the printer's fault. They never saw it, which again is categorically false. And we have, the receipts are there with the printer over Magnolia Press with the 5-step process and back and forth transmissions via the secure files. So there's record.
This is the kind of mistake that if they didn't respond to our question, I'm not against grabbing a camera and a microphone and going and knocking on a door and asking for these questions directly.
Yeah.
I mean, the type of thing. Yeah, you said the buck stops here. What does that mean? I'm honestly, I'd like our project to be about sort of deconstructing that kind of stuff. Like, people have now really in the age of Trump, sorry to bring it there, but people have found a way with language. He's actually exposed that. He's done, how you can use language to get out of things. So you just say the buck stops here. It's like some tacit acknowledgement that you take responsibility, but in the same sentence, you can shift responsibility to somebody else. That's bullshit. And that's
Yeah,
the kind of stuff that I
and
think
I
we
mean,
should run
and
down.
you know, the pushback is always, and it's the same thing with Biden. It says,
I
"Come
want
on,
to push
man,"
back
you
against
know
the
what I
bus
mean?
stops
It's
here.
come on,
What
man.
does
It's
that mean?
both of them, right? It's really all establishment politicians, right?
Yeah.
What they say versus what they do, and once they get caught, it's like, hey, everybody's doing it, right? Like,
Hmm.
my bad.
Right.
But now they're just pushing responsibility off to other people and lying about it, which hurt. Like you said, they use small businesses in their campaign. We love small business, but
Hmm.
how quick they are to throw them under the bus when these people are doing great work, have checks and balances, which Mary Jane Arrington, who makes like $180,000 of taxpayer money every year in salary,
Yeah.
and who's responsible for our elections, didn't put in an integral checks and balance process after knowing a violation happened of state
Or
election.
no, she didn't know. She don't know.
No, she knew. She knew the violation happened in 2022. What she's saying is she doesn't know how it happened again. Of course you don't know because you didn't put it in the checks and balance system, and then you lie about it. And the vendor is now talking to the media saying, look, I got the receipts that this lady's lying.
Right. Right.
And we
defend
tracked
her
it down
business. I
because,
mean,
look, we've been doing this for 15 years. I've been preparing mailers, which again, I use print houses. And before it goes to the printer and goes to bulk mail, I have to approve the proofs like 3 times.
Magnolia Press has been doing it 40 years.
Exactly.
And how long
And
has
that's
Harrington
why
been
when
in
this
office
story
yet?
happened and when I watched Channel 9 yesterday and that statement came out, I was like, that's just a lie. That's not how the process, like no print shop in America who deals with election printing is just going to, I send them a file, they're going to draw it up and send it out. They're not going to take that responsibility. They're going to go back and forth, especially if there's statutory requirements. They're going to go back because the onus to meet statutory requirements is, and this is the problem with her statement too. Oh, they didn't know the new election law. It's not the vendor's responsibility to know the election law.
Oh, I
It's
didn't hear you say
actually the
that part.
client.
Right. They're your client. It's your responsibility to know the election
It's
law.
your responsibility. Not
That's crazy. I missed that completely.
yeah, it's such a
Again,
wild.
shifting the blame to them completely. Like, oh, they didn't. They're printers. They're not lawmakers. They're not in charge with executing.
They're not
the
a
law.
constitutional office. The
Right.
law, the statutory requirements and ensuring that those are followed is up to the client. And she basically said, "Oh, the printer didn't know about the election law." What?
That's not the standard at all, man.
The onus isn't on them.
Right.
And that's why this company, being a legit small business who's been doing this since 1984, has a 5-step approval process to make sure that the client has multiple opportunities to see the proof to ensure statutory requirements are followed, and they approve it.
It's like getting caught with weed in your pocket and then saying, "Oh, my dry cleaner didn't realize that the weed's illegal. They thought it was legal."
Yeah. Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
My weed dealer didn't know.
Yeah. My weed dealer thought it was legal. It's on
My
him.
weed dealer didn't know
really
I wasn't supposed to have it in my pocket.
He's super disappointed he made this mistake, but hey, the buck stops here. All right, so have a good night. I'm going home.
And this is the issue, and this is why we're running this story down.
Right.
Because it's not, mistakes are okay. They're not that it's okay.
Mistakes happen. Mistakes happen. You have to address them, and you learn
and you
from
take
them.
ownership.
Right.
But now we have a violation of state statute and election law being violated twice. We have a duly elected constitutional officer in the supervisor of election, Mary Jane Arrington, completely abdicating responsibility from herself, blaming a small business, shifting, statutory responsibility to a print shop, and then completely lying about that her and her team never saw the ballot before they went to the print, before it went in the mail.
Jeremy, how long has she been in office?
She was a county commissioner before. I think she's been in public office since 1994, and she's been supervisor of election since early 2000s.
Dang, 1994, bro.
Yeah, I think that's when she got elected. She was in her son's seat as county commissioner before.
This is kind of gross. Like, all the nepotism is right in your face.
Well,
it's like
if you see
Osceola County,
but we can go back to the fact that, I mean, there's so many things to run down with the Arringtons, that the county commission and her son being the county commissioner, their dad's business, CM Arrington Associates, consistently gets no bid contracts from the county getting paid.
Oh, you shared this stuff with me before. I think by text, I was just like, what?
Yeah, no bid contracts. The county managers approve it because they don't want it to go to county commission vote. But the problem is you're only allowed no bid votes with the county manager up to $50,000. Then it has to go in front of the board. And they've violated that over and over again. They violated the procurement process.
Yeah, that's like, you're telling me that's the thing that's on its face. You can just tell. It's like this on its face. You see,
Yeah,
you
violates
can tell
their own
it's not
procurement
like,
policy.
This amount basically exceeds the amount which it's a no bid. Like on its face, it's.
Yeah, it's a lot. You there?
Oh, all right. So man, so what do we do next? How do we run this down?
So now let's again, we have to wait to see if the supervisor of election makes a statement.
Okay.
We are working and passed on these leads to mainstream media. We do work with mainstream media. So Channel 9 is running down this story. Well, the developing part of the story is me talking to the printer.
Cool.
And they did speak with the printer to get his side of the story. And Orlando Sentinel, we're working with Q. They're running down the story. We need to.
I'm not against going with you, Jeremy. Getting in the car and going and running some of the stuff down. Also, if there's somebody who's not getting covered, if there's an angle that we haven't looked at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we should go down the supervisor of election here and see what the real truth is, and not do the pushback. Right, your statement is just, it doesn't add up to truth.
Right.
Like the litmus test of truth is beyond reach right now, and unless you got receipts that contradict what the print shop has, again, just take ownership. Right.
Right. We want to know what buck stops here. You said it stops here, so we're the buck. We're here. We're stopping here. We want to talk.
And I think the Republican Party chairman wants to speak with you, so I think we get on camera. I think they're talking about doing a press conference once they file all of their complaints and ask for an official removal. So we're staying tuned when they're going to have their press conference, and they want us to be a part of it.
I love it. All right. Well,
this is breaking news out of Osceola County. Yeah.
Developing story out of Osceola County. Well, thank you for watching. I think we got all the angles for now.
Yep.
And we'll keep you up to speed, everybody.
All right. Have a good day.
We'll
Talk to you later.
Bye.